Welcome to Cliff Notes, the podcast where business meets inspiration and strategy meets balance. I'm Brandon Clifford, CEO of Business Alliance Inc., entrepreneur, investor, and your guide through the world of business, franchising, and leadership. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, an inspiring franchisee, or just someone looking for actionable advice to take your career to the next level, Cliff Notes is here for you. Join me as we break down the complexities of business and life into bite-sized, actionable insights. This is Cliff Notes, your shortcut to success. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Cliff Notes Podcast. Thank you all for being here today. I'm your host, Brandon Clifford. I'm excited to change it up a little bit and do another interview with a good friend of mine. I'm excited to share his story of his entrepreneurial journey, how he got into business for himself and traveled around from the great northeast of Buffalo, now down in Savannah, Georgia. We got Heath Flazarano, President and CEO. You had any other titles I need to know about? Dad, husband.
It's so funny. Yes. I have a family, wife and two kids, 14-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. Say my 14-year-old daughter may be going on 17 in a real nice way. And my 17-year-old son, probably just about going on 16, 17.
Yes.
I love them both dearly.
Yes. The joy of fatherhood. So President, CEO of Naturals2Go, Ventec, other companies too, I'm sure too, and we'll talk all about that. So Heath, thank you so much for being here today. I know that you're a busy guy, so I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with our audience. And I guess we could just start there. For those of you who maybe the listeners who haven't heard about Naturals2Go, tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, wonderful. Love telling the story. So I grew up in Smallville in upstate New York in a little town of about 7,000 people. The only thing I knew growing up was to play sports, baseball specifically. I have two amazing parents. I would consider them the best mentors to me. Divorced young, but remained really good friends. I didn't know the difference. And I know I was a lot different than some of my friends that sat on the other side of that seat. I ended up living with my father from the age 8 on. And like I said, I think the only thing I did was wake up, go to the park, play ball, drink some water out of a hose, and go play ball again. So that's all we did. Went to college up at SUNY Cortland in upstate New York, south of Syracuse. Went for physical education, got a minor in physical education and a master's degree from Mansfield, Pennsylvania in special education. So I taught for a handful of years. And I wouldn't have, as my transition going into, we'll say, business ownership, I would never have considered myself.
So you were a gym teacher.
I was a special education teacher with a gym. I also had a gym teacher certificate. Yeah. So I was a special education teacher for 6 years. I was a tenured teacher. Just didn't like the fact of having a price tag stamped on my forehead. So I wound up leaving this little town of upstate New York, Hornell, New York. I left and moved to Buffalo, started looking at other opportunities, and wound up finding a place that was like 3/10 of a mile away from my house. I was like, oh, this is great. I can jog to work every day. Now listen, Brandon, I don't know if you can cut this out or not. I didn't jog one time. I don't even think I walked. So it was funny though. I walked in, it was a call center. And I immediately wanted to walk out because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be a telemarketer. And that was a big thing back then. So they talked to me. I said, no, this is business to business lead generation. We do a lot of business with companies like SAP, Windows, Microsoft, Apple, Symantec, a lot of software stuff. And they said, it's unlimited potential for income. And I was like, now here's my ceiling. I was like, so can I make more than like 40,000? They were like, oh, yes. And I was like, sign me up. Got started. The unlimited potential for income went away real fast as I started making my numbers really quick. And I said, I don't know if I can stay here if that got all of a sudden capped. I said, unless I get into management. So I went into management, and this is going somewhere. Met a really good friend. I managed a call center about probably 50, 60 people in all different lines of business. But I met a good friend I have to this day. And he ventured off on his own. And he started doing business from his house, like early remote person.
So was he in the call center with you?
He was. I was his manager.
Okay. Yeah.
And
one of your guys flaked out on you, left.
Yeah, left. Yeah. And it was funny because when I seen him left, I was talking with the people that oversaw his campaign, Finger Micro, and they said, "Hey, is Damien really leaving?" I said, yeah, he's leaving. He's going to be a disc jockey and this, that, and the third. They were like, oh, okay. Do you mind if we call him? I said, yeah. So obviously they've called him, offered him up a job from home. He said no at first. And they were like, the pay will be like $30 an hour. And he was making about 11 at the time with a potential of bonus for 700 bucks a month. I say potential because I watched all these things unfold. And so when he heard 30, he said, hold on 1 minute. Well, yes, take it. So he worked for them. We kept in close contact. I said, I think the grass is greener on the other side. Let's start a call center. We aligned back, and that was in 2010, late 2009, 2010. And yeah, we just started
So
rolling
this
from
call center, were you like what you were doing lead gen for businesses, like any
Mhm.
kind of business? What, you have a niche? What kind of a?
Yeah, mostly software. So we did a lot of ERP software development stuff. I'm sorry, sales development reps. And we probably had about probably 7 or 8 employees going through the years. We did a lot of lead generation, webinar recruitment, contact discovery, live events. Man, there was a lot of calling, a
Yeah.
lot of calling. So
Did
life,
you, so you were going from being a special education teacher into sales and like cold calling sales?
yeah.
I mean, like how did that happen? Was it just because you were good at talking to people? There was no sales training you did along the way, never had a sales
No,
job,
none at
nothing.
all. And I
Yeah.
would say, if I say this to people now,
Mhm.
and if I tell them, I really think I was more of an introvert. The only thing I knew is I could hit a baseball really far.
Hmm.
That was the
Hmm.
only thing I knew in my life. And that was
Well,
really
so
my
going
oxygen.
back, I guess we'll get back to that question. Did you want to be a baseball player then when you were a kid?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The strike hurt me in 94, 95.
Yeah.
It was a bad time for baseball. Yeah. Yeah. So I was blessed with sports with amazing coaches. I had a stint in the World Series as a player and as a coach. And
Wait, as a
yeah,
player?
yeah, yeah. We went to the World Series as a player in
So you played
94.
ball? You played,
College ball. Yep. Played college ball. So went to College World Series in
wow,
95. Yep. Yeah,
nice.
in
Okay.
it was Roanoke, Virginia, I believe is where it was at. It used to be
Uh-huh.
Battle Creek, Michigan, but then
Yeah,
they
so
switched
that
it
was the path. The path was
100%.
MLB. You were planning on going into the minors, and then your goal was to get to the major league at some point.
That's the only thing I know. As a matter of fact, before I went to college to play baseball, listen, I almost didn't even know what I was going for. I just
Mm,
went. I saw this. This is funny. I saw the list of stuff that
mm,
I could take, the classes I could take, and so I was like,
mm.
golf, baseball, football, badminton, gymnastics.
Yeah.
I signed. I was like, I'll do 12, and they said that's good, Heath, but that's only 3 credits
Yeah.
because they were like a quarter of a credit a piece, and I
Yeah.
was well, geez,
Uh-huh.
3 credits. So then it came anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, exercise physiology, motor behavior. Anyway, yeah.
But
So that,
and isn't it crazy? So then when you were probably at the ripe age of where you would have gotten drafted, potentially, that's when the strike hit. And
yeah, oh
there
yeah,
was nothing happening.
there was nothing going on. So there was a
Wow.
lot of players that I played around that,
So talk
you
about a
know,
curveball, right? You talk about like your whole dreams. You mentioned like all you did as a kid was play ball, and then so now it's you're faced with okay, what's next? What
yeah,
was that like? A little. Did you have any sort of? I mean, did you hit rock bottom? What
yeah.
happened
No,
there?
it's a great question because I had thought to myself, I'm like, this was everything for me, right? Not really and scared about what I was going to do after because I didn't know what I was capable. I knew I was good at playing bad. When I stepped on the field, that was where I was free. That was where I was comfortable. That's where I was creative.
Mm.
And I think I remember talking to my dad about it because I remember sitting in 1996. It's hard saying that
Yeah,
1996
yeah, uh-huh.
is I was sitting in my house, my apartment, and all the electric was off, season was over, and I was waiting for the phone call from my coach. And I was like, I'm not hearing anything. So I jogged to the field house to find out, hey, did we hear anything yet? Nothing came through. And I remember I was down, yeah, for sure. My dad said to me, he said, hey, this game, Heath, was so good to you. Look at what it brought to you.
Mm,
One, you make it through anything with doing this. He said, but the you owe it back. You owe
mm,
this game back. And I actually did that through coaching. So I was able to coach a lot, probably a good 10 years after that before I had children, 10, 15 years after that. So yeah, it was a tough blow, but the sun keeps coming up. And I just started I think my dad was winking at me to say, hey, it's time to put on your gratitude hat and wear it as
sure.
long as you can.
Yeah.
So I let that well up inside of me. And I was blessed through sports to have some really good coaches like on the planet, taught me a lot of really good life lessons. And I had to really clap back to that. And then
Well,
sometimes,
because in many ways now that's what you are. Your company is a essentially a coaching company in a way. I guess I know like we've been talking because we've known each other for a while. We're talking here for now, I guess 15, 20 minutes. We haven't talked about Naturals2Go yet. I don't even
Yeah.
at least just so
Right.
people see that logo, maybe
Yeah.
share like what is Naturals2Go, what you do, and then we'll get back to your story in a second.
Yeah, 100%. This rolls right into it because it's funny. It is a little bit long getting to it, but so we started that call center. Life was going good. My business partner looked at me and he
Mhm.
said, "Hey, we're doing so well, Heath. Let's diversify." And I was like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Let's buy a Tim Hortons." So this is where Naturals2Go is
Tim
going to come.
Hortons. Tim
Yeah,
Hortons. Okay.
yeah, yeah, I
Cool.
know, right? He said, "Let's buy a Tim Hortons." I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, I don't know, I don't want any more employees, yeah, and I think there's a long school you got to go to get there, and
Yeah.
I
Everyone
don't
thinks
even think,
owning a convenience store is a great idea. People think it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
so my dad actually owned convenience stores. That could be another conversation another time. And
okay,
yeah, convenience store business is hard. It's tough.
oh yeah,
Did you buy the Tim Hortons? Did you go into that?
no.
Oh,
So
you
he
didn't.
said Tim Hortons. Then he
Mhm.
said, "What about a Chick-fil-A? What about British Swim School? What about Tutor
They're
Doctor?
looking
What
at all
about
these
Schoolie?
franchises. Yeah.
What
Mm.
what about healthy vending?"
Mhm.
And when he went by healthy vending, I was like, first off, get out of here with your healthy vending idea. I'm not being
Mhm.
a vending machine guy. I
Mhm.
said, "And where are you coming up with these ideas?" He goes, "I have a franchise consultant that I work with."
No way.
So of
Wait,
course,
what year is
what
this? This is like 2000, 2000.
2016,
Okay. Okay.
2016, and back, and I said, "And where did you find, where did you come up with this? How did you meet?" I filled in a thing online about my interests, and this is what they came back with. And I thought we have similar interests, so I'll just share it with you. Anyway, long story short, we get started back in late 2016. And I remember sitting at back then, 2016, the company was around just about 30 years. Naturals2Go was around for about 30 years. They
Mhm.
started in the bulk candy industry. You stick a coin in, you get your peanuts or your M&Ms or whatnot. So they
Mhm.
started back then in
Mhm.
the 80s, the mid late 80s, helping people start, run a grow business with
Mhm.
bulk candy machines. And they'd
Yep.
help them place them all throughout the US. And they were big international. There's probably 400,000 of those gumball machines throughout the
Mhm.
US and
Mhm.
Canada and Australia and other places. When we were at the training, we went to the training, 2016. I think it was November 11th, actually. I remember sitting there, and back then, I think there was 10 people in the class. It was probably seven new business owners, and they did trainings every month. Most of them were held in Richmond, Virginia, but this one was up in there where their original entity was formed in Idaho Falls. I'm like, I'm going to go to that one. So we went there. A couple stories I'll share after this, but
Beautiful area of the country. Gorgeous.
oh,
Idaho
gorgeous.
Falls, yeah.
We flew into Salt
Yeah.
Lake
So
and actually,
I did not know this, Heath, that you started as like a unit operator.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, I
Talk
was
about started from the bottom, now we're here. This is
yeah.
amazing. Yes. Okay. And you found it. I actually had no idea either that you found the business through a franchise broker. That's
I know
incredible.
I still remember her name and what group she was with, which is
Wow.
funny now knowing what
Wow.
I know on the other
Beautiful.
side of the
Beautiful. What a
world.
great story. Okay. So you're going out to Idaho Falls, you're training to become a business owner and
Yeah. So
yeah.
we started with 20 units. That was me and a
Mhm.
partner. It's the fun fact, my business partner, Damien, who I keep talking about, because we wanted to use other people's money. We didn't want to use our own
Mhm.
cash.
Mhm.
So we decided to get funded option. He
Mhm.
was so liquid, he didn't even have credit. He couldn't get funded. So
Mhm.
someone else did it with me. He didn't even do
Oh, wow. Wow.
So we go up there, we get 20 units, me and a partner. I remember driving that drive from Salt Lake to Idaho Falls, just they
Beautiful.
told us to
Oh,
do that.
yeah.
We get to Idaho Falls and we get to the hotel and we get a welcome bag. And they say it's 10, here's the directions. It was a little, it was like a triptych.
Mhm.
The trip, no, not on your phone, a triptych,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so we drive and we're starting to go out in the woods and I'm looking at my partner and
Are these vending people, what are they
I'm
going to
like,
do to me out here in the
listen, I'm
middle of
like,
the woods? I know.
if there's no building
Yeah.
here,
So pause
you've
one
been
second.
trying
So
to,
you married? Are you married at the time?
yeah, married at the time,
And you have two kids at the
two
time?
kids,
Both of them
young.
were both of them born at the time, or
Yeah, they're about 5 and 7 at the
yeah, I'm trying to do
time.
the math. So they're back home, and you're
Back
on
home.
this. So what's your conversation with your wife at this time? Is it like she's supportive? I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
yeah, very
Yeah. Must.
supportive. I've been because we had a decently successful call center. That was a nice little check. Now, it wasn't always smooth. Trust me,
Yes.
there was
Yes. Yes.
many bumps and
Yeah.
bruises through that.
Yeah.
I think we started with 14 hours that we were splitting between two people. That's how we started, and we
Hmm.
had a lease. And I said,
Hmm.
"Hey, we got to do it. We got to force ourselves, and then we'll
Hmm.
get to business."
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I had no clue what I was talking about. That was what came out of my mouth at the time. So thank goodness that worked out. Yeah, so very supportive. The vending space wasn't a super heavy lift. It wasn't like some other things that we were looking at, brick and mortar stuff, and there's a ton of great ones out there. But I think this one, with its flexibility, I had a little more leniency to be risky. I did have some good support, which is important, very important. So we go to this training, and I was sitting there. We have 10 people around us. At that point in time, I think the company had about 22, 23 employees maybe. And I remember the trainer sitting up there and he says, "Hey, we're going to talk about cold calling." He said, "By show of hands, how many people in the room have done a cold call?"
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then the next sentence that came out of his mouth was, "By show of hands, who in the room enjoys that?" Now everybody's hand, boom,
Boom, right down. Yeah.
my hand stays up.
Yeah.
It's our other business, right? And this guy, Kevin Ray, looks at me and he says, "You like doing that?" I said, "What business back home?" He goes, "Oh, may I ask what business?" And he says, "You have a call center?" He goes, "I need to connect you with our locating department here." So all of a sudden, so we get trained. Really, when I was at the training, prior to the training, when I found out people that were supporting it from a coaching and mentoring stance, and even the trainer that I'm talking to you about right now, own and operate units with Naturals2Go or had in the past.
Okay.
And I liked that, resonated with me.
Yeah. So they're like walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's different. I don't know if we've mentioned this yet. We're a seller assisted business opportunity. We don't get, we get lumped into the franchise
Yeah.
world all the
Sure.
time. Just some differences is we don't have fees or royalties. But for me, when I asked before I got in, I said, if you don't have any of those things, how do you make your money out of this first time deal? And they said, we hope we do really good by you. And if and when you want to grow your business, you'll come back to us. And I thought,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a
They
sales
buy
tactic.
machines. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a sales tactic, but it's working. I think I said that actually. And so anyway, I did love that. We went, he said, "I got to connect you with the locating department." I did just that. It was actually the daughter of the current CEO and president at the time. We hit it off. Probably a month and a half later, we took over half the business of doing call center locations all throughout the US. And I remember looking at my partner, I said, "I hope this money's real. It's got to be right." So, of course, we're getting paid on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, whatever it was.
And so how many machines did you start with?
We started with 20.
20. And so you obviously also dovetailed into being able to then grow your call center business by generating leads for other Naturals2Go owners across the country. But you put the 20 units out. This is up in Buffalo?
Yeah, it's up in Buffalo.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, when we it was interesting. So we said, obviously, we'll do our own locating. We don't need your help. We'll do it ourselves, which was probably a little tip for them to say, all right, we better really listen to these guys because we're very good at, the company's still around actually, the call center. We put our machines out. We were very picky, took our time, and in the same, we've been supporting owner operators all throughout the US. We had cracked a lot of really big deals, especially some new ones that led to new business. And the CEO calls me up probably in September of 2017. So just about 8, 9 months later, being in the business and supporting Naturals2Go and Ventec from a call center stance too. He said, "Hey, Heath," he said, "I want to let you know, I really appreciate the work you guys are doing for us. You're making a difference for these owner operators. They love it when you call because you're also an owner operator." And I'm like, "Yes, I know this." He said, "I think we should do some more business." Now, interweaved in that, Brandon, I heard that he was looking to retire. My name kept getting brought up. And I said, "Why me?" "Well, you're an owner operator of what we do. You're a former teacher and coach, and you have the call center." I think they threw in good looking, but that might have been last.
Nah.
Huh?
I'm sure they threw that in. Good face. I think it's a good face of the company. Yeah.
So anyway, he courted me from, I thought he wanted me to come in and be like the COO or the president. I'm
Yeah,
like
he was just
thinking,
gonna hire you, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. No, he wanted me to scratch a check for his portion of the company. So anyway, we courted each other from October to I took over as majority owner March of 2018, late March.
Cool.
And like I said, we were probably had about 23, 24 employees at the time. Yeah, it's been a wild ride from then till now. This would be a 3-hour podcast of Joe Rogan if I went into deep, but I'll fast forward to now. How's that?
Yeah.
I went through a few year and a half with trouble, sleepless nights, but
Yes.
it's made
Well,
it's
because
made
now it's completely different because it's one thing to take the risk yourself.
yeah.
And I'm gonna do this. And like you said, even with the call center, like two guys just dial in and be like, we're going to make it happen. We're going to figure it out. Like you can actually draw on a lot of like your athletic experience to just pound through it and persevere, and you can do
Yeah.
it. It's a completely different ball game, no pun intended, when you're now like you're actually inspiring other people to
Yeah.
follow because you know how hard it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't want to sugarcoat it, but you also want people to follow you, but you also don't want to you don't want to see people fail. And
Yeah.
so but you can't want it more than them because if you want it
Right.
more than them, they probably will fail. Talk a little bit about that, I guess, shifting from being an entrepreneur to now almost like you're inspiring people to be entrepreneur. I guess talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
No, I think it's great. I think I clap back to what I loved about what brought me in is we've experienced it. We know exactly what people are going through. We know how they're feeling because we felt it. And with stay power and good mentorship, we were able to push through any of that. Support of Naturals to Go back then, they knew it. They knew that you have to build people's mental muscles probably
Mhm.
more than anything because this business is not rocket surgery. And yes, that's a joke. I have to say that sometimes. They're like, wait a minute, did he just say rocket surgery? I think he meant rocket science. I said,
Yeah,
no, no, no,
rocket
that,
surgery.
how about brain science? We'll go with that.
No,
Um,
but that strong mindset, like that really is the key. Like I say it a lot. You guys, listeners, I know you're probably sick of me. You've heard me say this. Businesses don't fail, entrepreneurs give up. Talk about building that strong mindset. I don't know. Is there anything particular that you do or have done? Even if you, and I bet thinking back, there's probably stuff you did that you didn't even realize you were doing at the time, but now looking back on yourself as a younger aspiring entrepreneur. So talk about that like growth in mindset. How could someone start with those habits today?
Yeah, I had a son of a gun high school teacher or I'm sorry, high school baseball coach. Maybe I had a few tough teachers too. I had a real tough coach. He was disciplined and tough, and he wanted to outwork everybody. And we always had good baseball teams, and I just didn't get it. And he talked about dealing with adversity, and I thought everything was about baseball. And later on in life, what I realized is none of it was about baseball. It was all about dealing with life and making choices and showing up and knowing that you get to choose how you act, feel, respond.
Mm.
And I think those moments really, I will clap back. I lived the majority of my younger life with my dad. I spent a lot of time with my mom too, but I'll just
Mhm.
share a couple stories about my dad. One of the things he would tell me he wasn't one of those guys that would hover around and tell you how to keep your elbow up and do this, that, or that. He would just watch and smile and never really say too much, but a couple things that he would share with me. And I think he's a mindset guru, former
Mhm.
military, and just one of those geniuses of life, non-college educated genius of life and people. He's just got a lot of humanness. So I learned a lot from him. And he would tell me, this is one thing I remembered. He would say, Heath, in sports, you're gonna have a lot of highs. You're gonna be, you're gonna be right. You're gonna be on those caught on fire in the zone, whatever. He says, don't get too arrogant. Don't get too excited about it. Enjoy it. Let it push you. He said, then you're going to be times when you're down in the valley and you don't think there's going to be a way up. He says,
Mhm.
don't get too bummed out. He said, because if you could keep it right in the middle and just enjoy both moments, because both are going to teach you lessons. He says,
Mhm.
believe it or not, down in the valley is going to teach you more than the highs. I think I had a coach say something like your stats are going to build your hits will build your stats, your strikeouts will build you, or something he would say. I thought that was pretty cool. That does make
Mhm.
sense to me. The
Mhm.
tough stuff builds you. That's how you
Yes.
grow. And he would teach me those things through sport. I learned a lot of the stuff through sport and just having stay power. I don't know whoever said this, but it's probably someone famous. I don't know. They would say, don't stare at the bug guts and be grateful. I think a lot of people in business, they have different expectations. Doesn't matter what you say, you hear it a certain way, then you get the self-talk, and then you can start the bug guts are going to hit the windshield. You stare at them, man, you're going to be all over the place. And you get so used to listening to that. If your mindset's not strong enough, and even when you wake up in the morning, you'll start automatically thinking about the bug guts before you get in the car. You get in the car, you haven't even driven yet, and your windshield's plastered, and you just don't drive. So you're not even moving.
Mhm.
Being grateful, going through the grind, knowing that it is something that you just have to go through the hard.
Mhm.
It makes you who you are.
Yeah. I'm hearing gratitude, humility, and honestly, like the impact of the love of a father.
Yeah.
Like this country and this world, like we don't like that's an epidemic that people are facing, and
Yeah.
And so whether, and I know not everyone has the fortune and the things happen, but father figures, and if give back and become a father figure, if you didn't have that, or find one, whether it's a coach, a teacher, a mentor, nothing replaces, of course, your natural father. But then remember, we have a father in heaven as well, right? And so,
Exactly.
yeah, that's the key, man. And staying that balance between life, like you said, I love the bug guts. I've never heard that, because that's
Yeah.
people get all caught up and they're like, think about where you're going, you know what I mean, and stay on the road, because if you get off the road,
It's over.
it's over. Just stay on the
Over.
road.
Stay the path. I figure the only way I was surrounded by so many good people, my dad's friends, my parents were dreamers, right? Taught me that if I thought something that I could do it.
Mm.
Didn't matter. It didn't matter what it was. And it wasn't like an invincible thing, but I think really growing up, it almost made me start feeling invincible and confident without talking about it. Like I said, I really think I was an introvert growing up as a baseball player. I remember my dad's friends, they would tell me I could do anything, whatever you want to do, you can do it. And they told me that so much that it was just like a passing thought. It was just something that was normal to me. Whatever I did, I felt like I could do it really good. Very grateful. I had a lot of mentors going through college even.
Hmm.
Remember one of the mentors, he was a professor of physical education, and we were talking about disciplining kids. Maybe this has rhyme or reason to the conversation, but I think it's a good story. He said, "Hey, you're going to have a lot of times where you're going to want to get after kids. You're going to have to discipline them because you have to." He said, "But I just want you to pause for a minute and think about maybe what they went through the night before, or maybe what they went through in the morning. Maybe they didn't have food. Maybe they got whooped or something. Maybe they got yelled at. Maybe they had to walk to school a long way." So I think those type of things taught me was to just really step back and look at all good situations and always try to be something special to somebody else. Because a lot of people were that for me, like a lot. It's probably why I went into teaching and coaching.
Yeah, and isn't that a thought? It's people are so caught up in, especially the world we live in with smartphones and GPS and on to the next thing and moving a miles a minute, 24-hour news cycle, all that kind of stuff. And especially sales people, I'm sure your unit operators, and they deal with this where they're trying to place a machine and they're not hearing back from the landlord that they had a great conversation with. And so they
Mhm.
start projecting all this stuff, like, oh, they don't want the machine, oh, they don't like me, oh, they hate naturals to go, oh, this doesn't work, whatever, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and uh,
Oh, yeah.
and where it really, it's that landlord has life, and you don't know. Maybe he has a sick kid at home. Maybe his wife is in the hospital. Maybe he's in the hospital. Like, you don't know. And then also, like, a lot of people, like, they have this, everyone thinks the world kind of revolves around themselves, right? And so it's like
Hmm.
getting outside of
Hmm.
that and realizing that, like, people have their own stuff. So it's, but at the end of the day, we're not all these little atoms that are just, we actually are connected in many ways. And so we have to look out for one another and be empathetic to those things that I don't know what you're facing.
Right.
So my job isn't to make you conquer my problems, but it's to actually help you, because
Yeah.
you're going to help me.
That's
Cool.
100%.
So where's Naturals to Go now? Getting back to the story. Yeah, you said you're going to fast forward a
Yeah,
little.
so Naturals to Go now.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, 2025. What a ride. I'll tell you. So lucky the people that I get to team up with. We're about 140 employees now.
Mm,
I think in 2024, we hired 70 people
wow.
across 26 states.
Mm,
So we have a lot of remote workers too.
mm,
We have a good handful down here in Savannah and in Buffalo. But just to see what's happened when you circle yourself with the right people, and it's just magical. And you start getting to a point where you're attracting so many good people. I remember looking at one of our executives, and I said, "Michael, I said, how are these people come to us? I just don't get this." He said, "Heath, they're not. We're attracting them, Heath. We're
mm,
attracting them now." And it took me a while because I still think I'm green. I don't know if it's, what do they call that? What's that syndrome they call? Imposter syndrome. I don't know if
mm,
that's what it
mm.
is, but I constantly feel like when I'm in a room with all the executives, I'm like, oh my goodness. I actually hope they don't ask me some tough questions because these guys are amazing. But we keep attracting really good people and just allowing us to grow in the right way. And boy, it's been fun.
Excellent. Excellent. If someone's interested in learning more about Naturals2Go, here's a chance for you to give a little plug. We can put something in the chat for sure, but like, where should they go to learn?
Yeah, they would go to naturals2go.com. Yep.
Easy to remember. Naturals2Go.
Easy to remember. Yep. Naturals number 2GO, just like this back here.
Yeah.
Except for the .com after the dot in the circle.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Cool. All right, so we're getting towards the end of our time. I'd like to finish up with some fun little bit. I mean, this has been a great conversation, by the way, and we probably could keep going. Maybe we'll have another one follow up here. Some fun stuff to wrap it up. And although I guess one more deep question.
Yeah.
This has been good. It's a good way to start the morning too. So let's say if you weren't doing this, what do you think you'd be doing today? Not baseball. The baseball still failed.
Yep.
Maybe you win, but you didn't get into Naturals2Go somehow. What's something else you might be doing?
Maybe on the professional long drive scene for golf.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Now, one thing to say, I think that just is remarkable about you, Heath, and why I think you maybe, and I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you, but feel that sort of, like you said, imposter syndrome. It's because you actually do a beautiful job of actually not being identified by your businesses. You know what I mean? Like you're Heath is who you are. You know what I mean? And again, because you're a dad, you're a husband and a dad and a business owner, and it like goes in that order, right? Which is rightly ordered for your vocation in life, and that's why all these opportunities and things are coming. So thank you so much for what you do and what you stand for, and I'm really excited to continue to promote Naturals2Go through Business Alliance Inc. and find more great partners for you all too. Okay, so getting towards the end here, a couple things. Let's do some rapid fire, real fun, just some fun stuff. Okay, so coffee or tea? One word answers: coffee or tea?
Okay, coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Both, sorry.
I'm the same way.
I know that's not healthy at all. I know I go against what people say I believe them, but
yes. Same. All right, favorite snack?
Spicy, it's not going to be healthy. Spicy dill chips by Miss Vicky's.
Okay, what's your dream vacation destination?
Australia.
Good one. And what's, I guess, one thing that someone would be surprised to learn about you that they might not know?
I used to do backflips like Ozzie Smith.
Really?
Yeah, cool. Of course.
When's the last time you tried?
Oh, geez, my daughter, this is a fun question. I have it on video, so when we see each other soon, I'll make sure, remind me to show you a laugh. She was learning gymnastics. It was probably in 2016, we'll say, 2015, and she was learning back handsprings. And I'm just gonna go rip one off just so she does it. And so I'm jogging around because I'm thinking I better play like tag or something first because my back will fall off. I haven't done it in 10 years. So I went and did a round off back handspring, and she looked at me and she goes, she was mad.
Wow. That's hilarious.
So that backfired on me. So
good for you. Cool. All right, Heath, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. Like he said, guys, if you're interested in learning more about Naturals2Go, head to naturals2go.com. Again, thank you guys so much for being a listener. If this episode spoke to you or inspired you, or if please like it, share it. If you hear something in here that you think someone else could listen to and benefit from, please share it with others. And that's the note for today. So stay tuned for another episode. Thank you. Have a great one, Heath.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Business Alliance Insights. I hope you're walking away with some valuable insights to help grow and strengthen your business. If you're looking to connect with other business leaders, franchisors, franchisees, brokers, or even just looking to explore more tools to scale your business, be sure to get connected to our BAI network and check out FranLink, our exclusive social media platform built solely for our members. You can learn more about it and everything Business Alliance Inc. has to offer by visiting businessallianceinc.com. Again, that's businessallianceinc.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with other business leaders who are ready to take their businesses, their brands to the next level.